Hey there, amazing friends. I warmly invite you to join me on this exciting journey by subscribing to my channel, liking, commenting, and sharing my videos. Every like, comment, and share brings us closer together and fuels my passion to create more great content. Your support truly makes all the difference. Thank you for being the heart of this community. The muffled scream behind the glass, the shadow crying out in darkness, invisible by day. A faint wind brushed across the outskirts of a tired, fading town, stirring dust along a forgotten back street where old factories and derelict houses stood in slow decay. At the very end of this road, hidden by a tangle of weeds and a rusted chain-link fence, sat a building that had once gleamed with promise, but now lay under a hush that felt almost alive. It was not a house in any conventional sense, but more a greenhouse or conservatory, one whose glass panels were thickly coated in grime, as though trying to conceal secrets from those who passed by. For years, people had spoken in whispers of the faint, muffled scream that emerged from behind these glass walls at night, a sound so soft it skirted the edges of hearing, yet potent enough to lodge fear in anyone's heart. Though by day it showed only reflections of a deserted interior, watchers swore that come dusk, strange silhouettes could be glimpsed gliding through the gloom. Local rumor dated the structure's origins to a wealthy horticulturalist named Dr. Monroe, who had arrived in town decades earlier, determined to pioneer groundbreaking botanical experiments. He built this greenhouse on an expansive plot of land, then set out to cultivate bizarre hybrids gleaned from his travels overseas. At first, curious onlookers marvel at the exotic blossoms he displayed, flowers with petals shaped like serpents' tongues, vines that twisted into vaguely human forms at night. Yet soon enough, stories emerged about missing pets in the vicinity, or the chilling hush that descended whenever you approached the greenhouse after sundown. Some watchers who ventured near after dark insisted they heard a muffled cry, half human, half something else, echoing from inside. Others spoke of flickers of movement behind the grimy panes, like elongated shadows pinned between murky glass and the hush of the interior. Though Dr. Monroe initially brushed off such tales as local superstition, he abruptly ceased public appearances after a particularly harrowing rumor circulated. A neighbor claimed to have peered through a crack in the greenhouse's door at night and seen shapes not plant-like at all, humanoid silhouettes, half-formed, shuffling in slow unison. The neighbor fled, babbling of intangible watchers, illusions overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions overshadow illusions, and insisted the entire greenhouse was a site of monstrous wrongdoing. Dr. Monroe's abrupt reclusion and subsequent disappearance from social life only fanned the flames. Soon, the watchers recognized overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions in every new rumor about the place. Some insisted the greenhouse was a front for occult experiments, others that it was cursed by something Dr. Monroe inadvertently awakened in his botanical meddling. Eventually, Dr. Monroe himself vanished. His staff quietly packed up, the land fell into disuse, and the greenhouse was left to rot. Over the next decades, the watchers, teenagers sneaking out at night, paranormal enthusiasts, idle thrill seekers, gathered countless accounts of eerie phenomena. They discovered how the hush around the greenhouse intensified once the sun dipped below the horizon, as though the entire building inhaled in anticipation. They recorded fleeting moans that seemed to come from within, but so faint that no standard microphone could capture them properly. People who tried to look inside with strong flashlights saw only thick condensation and a swirling haze, as if the greenhouse's interior was unnaturally foggy. But some watchers insisted that behind that haze, half-formed shapes stood with arms outstretched, pressing against the glass. A handful of particularly bold watchers managed to slip inside through a broken panel in the greenhouse wall. Most were met with an immediate wave of dread, an almost physical pressure on their ears, like stepping into a chamber where even the faintest rustle was swallowed by an intangible hush. Overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions. Their flashlights revealed aisles of rotting benches and planter boxes, vines that had died long ago, and piles of decomposed leaves. But in the gloom, these watchers recounted glimpses of something far more disturbing: stains on the floor that might have been dried fluids, odd scratch marks etched into the glass from inside, and an occasional reflection that didn't match the person shining the light. Some watchers emerged pale-faced, claiming they heard a stifled scream that quaked in their chest but never reached their ears, as if the sound existed just outside normal perception. Others insisted they felt intangible hands brushing across their shoulders, or sensed a presence that stared back from the corners of the greenhouse, hidden among tangled vines. No one lingered long. Official authorities dismissed these tales as local lore. Town records made only brief mention of Dr. Monroe's property, referencing a tragic lab accident and subsequent closure. A few watchers rummaging deeper found partial diaries from Dr. Monroe's assistants, referencing a final experiment involving the crystallization of sorrow, an apparent blend of horticulture, and an undisclosed process that harnessed emotional energies. They wrote cryptic lines such as, "He plans to seal the whale within the glass, lest it roam freely," and "The moan grows louder each dusk." To these watchers, illusions, overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions, a synergy of half-baked science and supernatural tampering that bound some intangible sorrow to the greenhouse's interior. Over time, the watchers concluded that Dr. Monroe might have tried to contain or siphon this sorrow into the greenhouse's environment, inadvertently forging the muffled scream phenomenon. One caretaker's letter from that era stands out. He told me the plant hearts would resonate with emotion, capturing the sadness of those who died on these grounds. I can't bear the nights now. The glass hums like a tuning fork of despair, and I hear that scream. It begs for release, but I do not know how to grant it. The caretaker eventually quit. The watchers interpret illusions, overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions, as the caretaker possibly seeing spectral or ephemeral silhouettes each evening. That letter vanished into dusty archives. Overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions. But some watchers glean enough to suspect Dr. Monroe conjured or trapped a collective grief, forging an unstoppable overshadow illusions, hush, overshadow illusions in the building. Present-day watchers, armed with modern gear, have attempted to record the phenomenon systematically. Night vision cameras set up around the greenhouse occasionally capture short flickers of light inside. Audio recorders pick up faint vibrations that, when amplified, mimic the shape of a whale in waveforms, like someone or something is indeed crying out, but kept at a frequency or amplitude that only partially registers. One watcher's group spent 3 consecutive nights capturing reams of data. They concluded the phenomenon peaked around 2 a.m., at which time multiple cameras displayed interference and partial silhouettes dancing along the interior walls. One watchers described them as like half-dissolved shadows, arms outstretched, maybe beckoning or maybe struggling. Another watchers insisted that the shapes lined up near the largest crack in the glass, as though they yearned to slip outside but were blocked. The watchers interpret illusions, overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions. The entire building resonates with intangible heartbreak, they concluded. Local bystanders occasionally claimed to see fleeting illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions of some figure wandering near the greenhouse's entrance, only to dissolve. A certain old woman in the nearby block recounted, Some nights, from my window, I see a tall silhouette with its hands pressed on the glass, as if it tries to push through. I can almost hear that soft wail calling out. She lamented that she dared not approach. The watchers interpret illusions, overshadow illusions, overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions, as the intangible occupants attempt to break free. Another rumor posited that if the glass ever fully shattered, the muffled scream would be unleashed upon the town in a catastrophic wave of despair. An unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions, overshadow illusions, overshadow illusions scenario. Yet no major break has occurred so far, only small cracks. Perhaps Dr. Monroe or subsequent owners reinforced the glass in a cunning manner. One chilling event from a few summers ago stands out. A trio of adventurous watchers trespassed late at night, determined to open the greenhouse door from inside and see if letting in open air would alter the phenomenon. According to their account, they managed to pry the door partially open before a sudden swirl of dusty wind whipped through, slamming it shut from the inside. A stifled cry or moan reverberated through the watcher's bones. One watcher collapsed, claiming to see a swirling mass of shadow figures converging near them. Another watcher insisted they felt intangible hands tugging at their sleeves, as if pleading for help. They fled, leaving footprints scattered in the dust, never achieving their goal. For weeks, one watcher complained of nightmares filled with half-seen figures pressing their faces against transparent barriers, mouths open in silent screams. Illusions overshadow illusions, overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions. A question that gnaws at the watchers is whether these silhouettes are truly ghosts of humans or some other entity. Some watchers propose they are echoes of Dr. Monroe's misguided experiments, living shadows spawned from botanical-laced necromancy. Others suspect the site is a nexus for sorrowful spirits from across the area, drawn to the hush, overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions. Possibly each silhouette is an amalgamation of multiple tragedies. Meanwhile, an alternative view suggests no direct spiritual dimension, merely a phenomenon of bizarre acoustics and illusions, overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions, triggered by mind suggestion in a decaying structure. Yet the watchers who've personally felt the sorrow disagree. They call it unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions, overshadow illusions, overshadow illusions that no rational theory can quell. In a final attempt to glean a solution, a small group of watchers trained in spiritual cleansing decided to conduct a release ritual, combining exorcism-like prayers and the symbolic shattering of a single, smaller glass panel in the greenhouse. They reasoned that if the muffled scream was trapped by the glass, creating an opening might let the sorrow out. On a windy, moonlit night, they assembled at the greenhouse. The watchers interpret illusions, overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions as a precarious plan. Indeed, as they recited mantras and lightly tapped a corner pane, the entire structure emitted a low moan. The watchers described it as if the glass vibrated in unison, sending waves of intangible hush, overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions into their chests. Then they tried a small hammer strike. Instantly, a hairline fracture extended across that pane, letting a burst of cold air swirl out. The watchers reel as the silent moan soared to a near-audible wail. For a moment, they glimpsed multiple silhouettes rushing toward the breach from inside, as though they'd be freed. But something about the overall structure's resilience or the watchers' fear made them hesitate. They retreated, letting the greenhouse remain mostly intact. The watchers interpret illusions, overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions. They refused to repeat the attempt. uncertain if unleashing that sorrow fully would help or harm. Since then, the Watchers maintain a fragile standoff with the greenhouse. The final consensus is that the muffled scream remains behind the glass, intangible watchers drifting nightly in silhouettes, overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions. No official solution or acceptance has come forth. The building stands as a quiet anomaly on the town's edge, a magnet for curious watchers who wish to experience that intangible hush, overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions. Some come away unsettled, others enthralled. The watchers see overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions in every reflection on that grimy glass. Each new generation receives the same cautionary tale. Do not linger after dusk. Do not press your ear to the cracks, for the sorrow is not yours to bear. And so, the muffled scream behind the glass, the shadow crying out in darkness, invisible by day, endures as a testament to how intangible heartbreak or twisted experiment can anchor itself to a place. By daylight, the greenhouse is a ruin, unremarkable except for old panes and creeping vines. But by night, overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions come alive, forging a hush so profound it resonates in watchers' chests. The skeleton of Dr. Monroe's misguided creation stands, and unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions, hush, overshadow illusions that might never be undone. The watchers remain vigilant, uncertain if the muffled scream can ever be fully released, or if it's destined to cry out forever in the gloom, an echo of sorrow no living voice can replicate. Overshadow illusions, unstoppable illusions, overshadow illusions, sealed behind old glass.